Hello there. Welcome to my thought for the day. I'm continuing my thoughts about John the Baptist from yesterday, if you didn't, and the day before, if you weren't with me then. But I'm just looking at the things that John the Baptist said to people when they heard his call for repentance. And they said to him, "What do we do then? How should we live? What is the right way to live?" He could easily have said to them, well, read the prophets, the prophets tell you all about how you should live. Read the law of Moses, that'll tell you how you should live. But no, he was very practical. And we looked yesterday at the first bit that he said, which was, he who has 2 coats, let him share with him who has none. And he who has food, let him do likewise. That's Luke 3, verse 11. Then he goes on to say, when tax collectors also came to be baptized and said to him, "Teacher, what shall we do?" And he said to them, "Collect no more than is appointed you." I think that's very interesting that he said that, because tax collectors were hated. Matthew, of course, was a tax collector, but the tax collectors, and Zacchaeus, of course, you remember Zacchaeus, the little guy who climbed up in a sycamore tree because he couldn't see Jesus as he passed by. He was a short man. He was a tax collector. But they were despised. They were despised for 2 reasons. Firstly, because they worked for the Romans. They collected the tax for the Romans. They were, in many people's eyes, collaborators, working for the enemy, the occupying force. And for that reason they were hated, because they associated with Gentiles, and Jews were not supposed to associate with Gentiles. And also, they cheated people. They took more than they should do, and the Romans turned a blind eye to that, and they pocketed the difference. And Zacchaeus is a case in point. When he comes to meet with Jesus, he says, "I'm going to return everything I've taken, more and more than that. I'm changing." But John the Baptist does not say here to tax collectors, "Stop being a tax collector." He doesn't say that. He doesn't say, "Stop associating with Gentiles." What he does say is, "Collect no more than is appointed you." He asks them to be honest in their dealings. And I think that is quite revolutionary, really, because what you might expect John the Baptist to say, he doesn't say. And so they would have carried on as tax collectors. That was their job. But they became honest tax collectors. I think that's very telling. It's interesting, sometimes we think certain occupations are not good, certain activities are not good, but it's not for us to judge that. But the thing is, whatever we do, we should do it honestly and with integrity and faithfully and uprightly. It's all about a person's occupation. This really is being honest. If you're paid to work from 9 till 5:30 and everyone in your office block goes off at 5, do you stay till 5:30? You're paid 9 till 5:30. Or you're paid for an hour's lunchtime, and every Friday you take an hour and a half to 2 hours, because everyone else in the business takes an extra long lunch hour. We need to think about the way that we conduct ourselves in the parts of our lives that interact with other people, which is what this is for the tax collectors. They collect tax on behalf of somebody else. They're a middleman. How do you need to behave with integrity to those you collect tax from, but also to those to whom you pay it, to behave with integrity and uprightness, and to do the work that is given to you conscientiously, with a spirit of excellence, even if it's a menial job that others would think isn't worth doing. And then John the Baptist goes on, when soldiers asked him, "And we, what shall we do?" And he said to them, "Rob no one by violence or by false accusation, and be content with your wages." Soldiers would have been involved in policing, really. They didn't have a police force back in those days. They would have had soldiers. Then there was the temple guard, and there was also the Roman soldiers. They were military people. They were trained to conduct warfare. They were trained to arrest people. And they were strong people with military ability. And Jesus said, "No, rob no one by violence." In other words, don't use your strength and your ability in the wrong way to rob others. Again, John doesn't say, stop being a soldier, because if you're called to fight, that would be wrong. He doesn't say stop doing the thing you're doing. He just simply says, don't use your abilities in the wrong way. Don't rob anyone by violence or by false accusation. Don't lie and cheat. Don't threaten people. Don't extort money from people simply because you're a powerful person who can wield a weapon. And be content with your wages. That's a difficult one, isn't it? I don't know if you know anything about the climate that's been going on in the last year or so in the United Kingdom, but it's been marches for more money, discontent about wages. John says to these soldiers, be content with your wages. Now, why should that be? It's because the source of our well-being, the source of our income is God, not our job. It's his faithfulness that brings us through. And even when we run short, if we are putting first his kingdom, he will make sure that we have enough. He is faithful in that way. Contentment rather than discontent and marching and placards and all that sort of thing. I don't know what John the Baptist would make of all these people who stand around picketing for more wages, better conditions. They're very discontent. He said to these soldiers, be content with your wages. My time is up. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye.